opened fire just as the services ended.
President Trump has signed a proclamation implementing travel restrictions on 8 countries. Some of the affected countries include North Korea now and Venezuela, as well as 6 others across the Middle East and Africa.
2 possible blows to the Graham-Cassidy health care bill coming from Senator Ted Cruz in Texas and Maine Senator Susan Collins.
People are hurting, and they're begging, please, you've got to repeal this. You've got to give me some help.
Our country waking up more divided than ever. More than 200 NFL players took a knee or raised their fist during our national anthem.
This has to do with respect for our country and respect for our flag.
No one in the NFL other than Alejandro Villanueva really knows what it's like to be a 25-year-old American in the middle of a country where everyone wants to kill you.
Former Army Ranger Alejandro Villanueva was the only Pittsburgh Steeler to come out of the locker room before their game against the Chicago Bears.
It is 8 o'clock here in New York City. Jason Chaffetz is standing in the wings. We're going to talk about the news of the day, but first, a Fox News alert.
Yes, exactly. Police say that a masked gunman has now confessed, there's his picture, to opening fire on churchgoers in Tennessee, killing a woman and wounding 7.
The suspect is an immigrant from the country of Sudan, and now an armed usher who was working yesterday is being called a hero for stopping him.
Jillian Milley is live outside the church in Antioch, Tennessee. And as this story comes together, Jillian, I know last hour you were able to get the affidavit that talked about what he might be saying behind closed doors.
That's right. We did get the affidavit. We were able to read that, in which he did admit to what he was accused of doing, killing one woman right outside of this church yesterday morning, injuring 6 others inside. His name, Emmanuel Sampson, 25-year-old. We do have his picture. I know you guys just showed that a second ago. He is a legal U.S. resident. He came here from Sudan in 1996. We know all of that. What we still don't know at this point is exactly why. That's what police are trying to figure out right now. Parishioners at this church actually tell us he used to attend Sunday services here years ago. They say they haven't seen him in a while, though, and they certainly didn't recognize him yesterday because he was wearing a mask. He is in police custody. He is charged with murder, so more details are going to continue to emerge throughout the day today. 39-year-old Melanie Smith is the woman who was shot and killed just outside this church. As I mentioned, 6 others injured inside. You know, when you see tragedies like this, you hear stories of heroes that emerge here at the scene, and we've heard 2 so far. One is the pastor who immediately when he saw the gunman entering the church, he yelled for everybody to run, to get out as quickly as possible. One woman we talked to last night, she was inside the church. She told us, he saved my life. The other is that 22-year-old usher, Robert Engel. He actually got into an altercation with the gunman. Listen to police.
Mr. Engel is the hero here. Mr. Engel was pistol whipped during this struggle. Sampson was shot with his own weapon. When he went down, Mr. Engel went to his vehicle. He's a handgun permit carry holder, and came back into the church with the gun and made sure that Sampson stayed on the ground until police officers arrived.
So people say if it hadn't been for both the pastor and the usher, they don't know how this would have turned out. They are lucky and thankful that they were there. One quick note, later today, 3 o'clock local time, there will be a vigil at another church near downtown Nashville. Guys.
All right, Jillian, thank you very much. Joining us right near here on the curvy couch is Jason Chaffetz, former Utah congressman, Fox News contributor. He's going to be on Outnumbered today. Congressman, as you listen to that story, it could have been much worse, but an usher, a good guy with a gun, had a permit, went out to the car, got his gun, kept the guy down on the ground until the cops came.
I love it when you see ordinary Americans do extraordinary things. The guy's going to church, and next thing you know, he's running out to get to his car and save an untold number of lives. God bless him. We need more people like it. It's inspirational.
Absolutely, but usher, a volunteer position too. He ends up saving this lives. Meanwhile, the #1 story yesterday was really because of the president's remarks on Friday, and that is you expected a massive show of protest. And the NFL Sunday, and it began at Wembley Stadium in England. What's your response to that?
It's disgusting. Here they're playing the national anthem. Americans are going over to play football, and they kneel for the national anthem, and they stand for God Save the Queen. Right. I mean, what is wrong with these people? But I tell you, that one Pittsburgh Steeler, get a copy of his jersey because he's doing the right thing, standing with the flag.
Alejandro Villanueva
yes.
is his name. He's an instant hero to many. 28 years old, 2 tours of duty in Afghanistan, a Bronze Star, and listen, there it is right there. He's the lone Steeler standing in public during the national anthem, Congressman.
Standing for the flag, standing for the national anthem. You know, this is where President Trump is on this. I think that's where America is on this. And I God bless him for actually doing it, because I think he represented the United States the way we all want to be represented. You know, sports is something that I don't want to get politics engaged in it. I want to go there. I don't care where you are in the political spectrum. I want to go and enjoy a game and root for a team. And I think it's disgusting what they're doing, kneeling the national anthem.
Yeah, there are a lot
things.
of people that do agree with the president. I mean, you have both sides of this issue. A lot of people out there are too afraid to talk about it because many people will accuse them of being racist. The president says his comments were not about race. He just tweeted this. Can we put up his tweet, please?
Yeah, here it is.
Right here.
It was up there. Where is it? All right,
It says, the issue of kneeling has nothing to do with race. It is about respect for our country, flag, and national anthem. NFL must respect this.
So what is your message to those people who don't see eye to eye with the president, who are hurting or upset with the direction of this country, and they do see it as racist?
Look, it's the flag. It's the national anthem. It's the United States of America. When you put on that uniform, you got to do what your coach tells you to do. If you want to, when you're off the field, in your own time, be involved in something, great, go ahead and do that. But when they're playing the national anthem, I don't care who you are, where you are, you stand and you give respect for those men and women, the millions of people who have served this nation.
Before the president's remarks, maybe 10 players took a seat. Now over 200 players took a seat. Now you have NFL owners coming in with the players, locking arms with the players. So it has turned, even though 60% of the public is against the sitting out the national anthem, it's clearly gotten worse. The infections come up. Would you like to see the president try to get ahead of this, call some owners in, some leader players in, some of his big, outside Colin Kaepernick, some other guys, to come in there and start working through this?
I mean, if they can talk it out, great. But I think the president has made his point. I think fans are speaking with their dollars and their eyeballs. They're not watching as much football. They're not going to as many games. You watch the Rams are a pretty good team. They can't, they're selling tickets for about the same price you can buy a pretzel. And there's a disgusting element to people who won't respect the flag that Americans are going to speak with their wallets and their eyeballs.
They were so divisive. Should we just accept that we're going to be divisive, or should we try to get together on this?
No,
because most of the people in those locker rooms are great people.
They are good people, and I respect that they have different viewpoints. But when we're talking about the national anthem, when we're talking about the flag of the United States of America, you stand and give respect for those 2 minutes. It's those 2 minutes where we set everything else aside and put our country first.
Yeah, and remember the people who did make the ultimate sacrifice.
That's right.
For us.
And the president has been clear. He knows exactly how he wants this to end. He wants them to stand.
Right.
Period.
But it's not going to end that way unless somebody comes together, because it's not going to happen organically. Meanwhile, on 60 Minutes last night, John McCain sat down with Leslie Stahl, and when they're trying to get to the bottom of the relationship between him and the president, is it irreparable? Listen.
Did he ever apologize for saying you're not a hero?
No.
If the president wanted to have a rapprochement with you, would you be receptive?
Of course. Of course.
There are some people who think that part of your no was to get back at the president, and that the thumbs down was kind of more like a middle finger to him.
If I took offense at everybody who has said something about me or disparaged me or something like that, life is too short. You've got to move on. And on an issue of this importance to the nation, for me to worry about a personal relationship, then I'm not doing my job.
Do you think he's moved on?
Look, I think those were great questions, and I think he gave some honest answers. But the fact remains that we're missing this opportunity. The choice before the United States Senate is, do you want Obamacare or do you want something that's a step better? And I recognize it's not nearly what I think it should be.
Right.
But is it better than before? And we can't even get Republicans to vote Republican.
And that was the point that Louis Gohmert from the great state of Texas had with us about 2 hours ago. And in fact, he went so far as to say, maybe it's time for the people of Arizona to recall Senator McCain. Watch this.
he is one of those that said, I will repeal. If he had said last year what he was going to do, Kelly Ward would have beat him and Kirkpatrick would have beat him. But, you know, nothing inhibits recovery from cancer like stress. I think Arizona could help him and us. Recall him, let him, you know, fight successfully this terrible cancer, and let's get somebody in here who will keep the word he gave last year.
What do you think about a recall effort?
I think that was a bit over the top. I disagree with those comments from my former colleague Louis Gohmert, but nevertheless, there were every Republican campaigned on the idea that we were going to repeal and replace. I voted more than 50 times while I was in the House to repeal and replace Obamacare. Do you think when we were playing with live fire that they actually brought that bill up for us to vote on? No, they didn't.
So you saw a bill that you said should replace Obamacare. Where is that bill?
Look, we voted on it more than 50 times. Then when we actually had a president that would sign it, they didn't bring that bill up for a vote. And the problem is, we're coming to the end of September. If you don't pass a budget, which the House has done, but the Senate is nowhere close to doing, if you don't pass that, then you lose the ability to use reconciliation to get to the 50-vote threshold. So after that, it goes up to 60 votes that they have to get. It makes it that much harder.
Last week it seemed most were more optimistic about this bill. This week it seems maybe not so much. Is it going to? It's not going to pass, is it?
Look, Congress is out of session in all of August. Because of the storms, they were only in session for 7 days. I think 4 of those were fly-in and fly-out days. They've been out the last 10 days. They're coming into session today, and Wednesday they're going to take off, no voting, because they're going to go off-site and talk about what they think should be in the tax reform bill.
Rank and file, you say, are outraged.
Rank and file is just beyond themselves because these are good, decent people who are working hard. Can anybody tell you what's in the tax reform bill? No. Is there a replacement bill for health care? No. What are we doing about North Korea? Don't have that. And what are we going to do about the budget? Haven't been able to pass it. It's due in law. It was supposed to be passed by April 15th. It's September. And they still don't have a budget.
It's a numbers game. He'll be on Outnumbered today at 12 noon. Jason Chaffetz.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. They wear you. When you come to town, we wear you out. All right. Thanks, Jason. Straight ahead. Fox News alert. President Trump talking top on North Korea, appearing ready to use military action. But are Americans really ready for that? We'll give you the numbers.
Plus, New York City's Mayor Bill de Blasio knows what happened to Hillary. His theory, it's a doozy.
It's so valuable. Fox News alert now. North Korea on notice. President Trump appearing ready to take action against the rogue regime at this hour, tweeting this, quote, just heard Foreign Minister of North Korea speak at the UN. If he echoes thoughts of Little Rocket Man, they won't be around much longer. But are Americans ready for military action? Here to weigh in is U.S. Army Green Beret Terry Shepard. Terry, you see where we are right now. We're in unprecedented territory. Some in South Korea are worried, and in Japan they're wondering where this is going. Where do you think we're going with this?
First of all, let me tell you this, Kilmeade. I know you're ducking me in New York, and I'm in an undisclosed location in North Carolina, so you'll see me soon.
Right. I will find you. I know how to, okay?
That's right. I have skills. Hey, listen, nothing should be surprising about what's going on with North Korea. I mean, this is where it was going to be. Victor Davis Hanson, who is one of my favorite writers, a national treasure, wrote an article a while ago talking about what if this is the other way, like America was in control of a rogue state that was belligerent to all of our China's allies, and how long would that go on? There would have been a war already. So, I mean, there's a lot going on. We have the 2nd Infantry Divisions there. There's a lot of conventional forces, but this is good. This would have had to been done sooner or later. And so, yeah, it's edgy and it's a bit scary, but this has to be done. At least in some way, he has to be put in his place.
Right. And right now, if you ask the American people about this, because he does have nuclear weapons, they were asked, and they said 58% favor using diplomatic efforts first, 35% are opposed to doing it. We're at the point now, though, Terry, is whoever was the 45th president would be dealing the same way. But some in the State Department are worried about the bellicose tone of the president. Are you?
No, I'm not that worried about it. Listen, President Trump's going to be President Trump. This is how he's going to be. He's always been this way. I actually kind of filter out a lot of the way he says stuff or even what he says, but you bring a good point. Whoever was in charge right now would have to deal with this. I think President Trump's at least strong stance is the right way to go, because it's gotten us nothing to this point. You know, we've placated them, we've played games with them, and we've gotten nothing for it except more threats to us and, of course, our allies, which are very important to us, and we can't discount that. So ignore the talk. I tell people in the U.S., please just ignore the talk and just watch what the president does. More importantly, watch what our enemies do in response to him. That's what really matters.
Terry, you know, overwhelmed because of this NFL stuff over the weekend, but last week was a great week for the president and making diplomatic inroads with some of the people we need to put the pressure on North Korea, namely China. That's what I sense. He's building up the personal relationships just 8 months in.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right, man. I mean, here's the thing. China, you know, North Korea has been China's pit bull for quite a long time now. And China knows this. But China also has a good gig dealing with the West. And they realize if North Korea goes too far, that money, that gig, that's going to go away. So eventually this is going to work in China's interest to curb North Korea. And I think, again, people don't realize that part of the world values strength. It values, you know, someone with an iron fist behind it. And before this, we haven't had a president who was really that way.
And I'm glad you put your personal animus towards me to the side to talk about North Korea. Thank you very much,
You know, I did, Brian, because, you know, you and I are sort of friends, and I want to maintain that.
I know. Somehow, some way, we'll weather the storm. Thanks so much, Terry. Great job, as usual. Coming up straight ahead. Think you heard it all when it comes to insulting our president? You better sit down. London's mayor just weighed in. He hit a new low. Plus, we have Sean Hannity here, which is going to be a show high, as well as Geraldo Rivera in Puerto Rico, telling us how bad it is. And, man, it is bad.
Here's some quick headlines for you. The mayor of London comparing President Trump to ISIS. Listen.
Think about what you're saying, because what you're saying is not dissimilar to what Daesh or so-called ISIS is saying. What do they say? They say there's a clash of civilizations. It's not possible to be a Muslim and a Westerner, and you're inadvertently playing their game.
Sadiq Khan, a Muslim, says he's offended by the president's renewed travel ban, calling his views toward Islam ignorant. But Great Britain might want to adopt the president's tough stance on terror because ISIS has their target now set on Prince Harry. A new video features a fighter from Singapore telling the royal, quote, "Come fight us if you're man enough," saying he's going to be sent to hell. The clip in response to Harry speaking out against terror on a trip to Singapore. Steve, down to you.
Thank you, Ainsley. Outrage this Monday morning as anthem protests spread across professional sports, and the president refusing to sit on the sidelines over this. Tweeting earlier, the issue of kneeling has nothing to do with race. It is about respect for our country, flag, and national anthem. NFL must respect this. Here for reaction, we got a panel this morning. Fox News contributor David Webb and former New York City Police Department Lieutenant and Army vet Dr. Darren Porcher. Good morning to both of you.
Thanks for having us.
Morning, Steve.
Okay, so Doctor, let's start with you. After the president on Friday night said essentially that NFL owners should fire players who don't stand, it hit the fan. And yesterday there were hundreds of players who took part in the protest. What happens next?
Well, you have to take in consideration Donald Trump's stand. He opined on the statements in terms of these people taking a kneel for the flag.
Right.
I understood and I agreed with that, but we all know Donald Trump is not a resident type of guy. However, I think that there are we need to focus on a strategy here more, so to speak. Okay. One of the things is players need to stand for the national anthem. But in addition to that, how the NFL can gain a mulligan on this is to bring out bring out military families during the national anthem. In addition to that, have the NFL owners sponsor these families in these luxury boxes. Coupled with the, oftentimes we have to take in consideration the fan base. What the NFL owners should do is they should hold a series of town hall meetings with the season ticket holders and then gain what the pulse of these ticket holders is, because ultimately it's the fans that drive the NFL, and the fans clearly have stated that they want players to stand for the national anthem, and this would bolster advertisement and greater ticket sales with the NFL.
David, what do you think about the doctor's idea where if you have these military families come into the stadium during the national anthem, it would be hard for a player to kneel But you know what?
I actually don't think so. By the way, I think the suggestions are great. If they really want to do something about this, then get out and have the actual conversation. I agree with that. The players that are doing this, and I can't speak for every one of them, but some of them by their own statements would do this no matter who's standing in front of them. There's a picture that's gone viral, actually posted by a former NYPD officer and a friend of mine this morning, or he retweeted it and then others have retweeted it. And it's of a police officer saluting behind the Eagles players, I believe, as they're kneeling. So the patriotism is there. The conversation needs to happen. If it's going to happen, it's not going to happen in the hyperbolic world of people kneeling, I call them inner city elites with a lot of money who then don't go out and do anything. What have they done? What has Colin Kaepernick done since he knelt? Did he start an organization? Did he go to work? Did he go into the inner cities? Did he go into the bad neighborhoods and work with them to keep kids in school, to build better education systems, to help clean up crime in these areas?
You know, it all got started with Colin Kaepernick a year ago when he knelt. But ever since then, there have been so many people kneeling. I was reading something today where it said it's been unclear why various players have been kneeling. I mean, is it because of racism in policing? Is it racism in general? Or is it solidarity with the other players?
You know, it's become like the pet rock of politics. That's really what it is, where they're doing it. But now it passes on in a dangerous way socially, where 8-year-olds are kneeling and their coaches and giving them full context. That's not right either, because these 8-year-olds don't understand why they're there on their knees. Their helmets are bigger than their shoulder pads. This is when you're at that age. You should be learning about team sports, about working together, about what we can do. You should be learning about the country. You should be learning about the context of what the anthem and the flag stand for and what they represent. Their rights are not in question. They can kneel, stand, or whatever. Absolutely. But the NFL is a private organization, and they had better send a message that, you know, while at Wimbledon or at the stadium in London, they stand for God Save the Queen, where if their own logic applied, they should not stand. They kneel for the flag.
Doctor, your final thoughts?
I think that we as Americans, we need to respect and honor the traditions that have brought this to be the great nation that it is. We need to progressively get away from these sports emotions, and they need to focus on playing the game. If you want to practice your First Amendment rights, that's fine. We live in a great nation. However, do it on your own time, not in front of us as a national audience.
Well, Donald Trump on Friday saw something he didn't like and called him out, and now we're talking about it. Guys, thank you very much.
It's great to be about America.
All right. So what do you think about that? Email us. Meanwhile, coming up, complete devastation in Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria, but our own Geraldo Rivera was able to reunite with his family in the middle of it this weekend. Look at that. His family okay, and he joins us from Puerto Rico coming up. Then President Trump unveiling new travel restrictions to keep America safe. Our friend Sean Hannity here to react to that. Plus, he's got some big news of his own.
Over the last 24 hours, he has added fuel to the fierce debate in this country over race, intolerance, politics, and sports. Now he's again inserting himself into the debate over race in America.
No, stadiums like these Sundays are for football, but after President Trump's comments and criticisms, today is about so much more. Stars across the sports world are speaking out about what one called the president's divisive rhetoric.
The White House likes this fight. They think this is ultimately good politics for them. They think that they're on the right side of this and that somehow it'll be the left or some of these players that overstep. I don't know. We'll see. This feels like a culture war that's exploding right before our eyes.
There is an unmistakable racial element to this story. And the subtext, the awkward subtext, is a question we asked a few weeks ago on this program. Is President Trump a racist? Is he making racist appeals to his supporters?
Here to answer that question.
Sean Hannity's a big fan of his. Brian Stelter. Yeah, here's Sean Hannity. Hey, Sean.
Hey, guys. You mean Humpty Dumpty? No, the president's not a racist. Why is it so difficult? We live in the most incredible times here because it's very simple about the country. It's a moment to unite around our flag, our nation, our anthem. All of those people that we remember that fought and bled and died for the right of these guys if they really want to take a knee. The president mentioned nothing about race, and, it's just very, very typical, though, of the media environment we live in. Is like knee-jerk, obsessive-compulsive hatred of the president and anything that he says or does, and it's kind of pretty typical, to be honest.
Sean, the NFL settled on a let-them-protest policy a long time before Donald Trump said what he did on Friday night down in Alabama. Now, how are things going to change? Are they going to wind up not playing the national anthem? Are they going to play the national anthem and the team will be in the locker room? How's this end?
I just don't think it's really that hard here. The NFL is going to have to make a decision because, in my mind, probably the country, this is a 70-30, 80-20 issue, and Americans like to honor their country. Mm-hmm. They want to respect their flag. They want to be one nation under God. And I just think the NFL is going to see a further erosion in their ratings and their revenue.
Right.
I think players are going to see their contract numbers begin to go down, and once it starts hurting their bottom line, I think they're going to realize maybe the American people would rather see football and would rather join and honor their country first.
Right. Sean, what was your reaction? Go ahead, Brian.
Okay.
What was your reaction to NASCAR? They said, if any of our drivers decide to do this and take a knee, you're fired. And then you had the Pittsburgh Steelers, Alejandro Villanueva. He's an Army Ranger, former Army Ranger, did 3 tours in Afghanistan. He came out while all of his team was still in the locker room, and the coach didn't support him doing this. And we have video of that playing right now. He came out for the national anthem with his hand over his heart because he knows he's been overseas.
That was a powerful moment, and probably the most powerful moment over the weekend. I remember I met Robert Kraft. He owns the Patriots. I know how much Brian loves the Patriots. But we sat and we were talking about it, and this was after Colin Kaepernick had started all the things that he was doing. And he said that he took his players, those that wanted to make statements, and they went around some of the tougher areas of Boston, and he told all of his players, I'll match dollar for dollar any charity you want to be involved in that's going to help our community.
Yep.
As a means of dealing with this. Now, I think he took a little bit of a different position yesterday. There's too many people. The fans of football, really, there's probably not one of them that don't know somebody that went and fought and bled and died for the country, and they fought under that flag. And that anthem means a lot to Americans.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the whole way the president did it Friday, and then he's trying to further clarify. There's nothing to do with race since then, Sean. Let me ask you something. If the president says, I can bring everybody together, why not be proactive? At least 8 NFL owners gave to his campaign. He's got relationships with a lot of them. Why not get the players, the Michael Bennett's of the world, the Martellus Bennett's, who would take a knee anyway, and start meeting, have a series of meetings, a beer summit with some teeth in it, to try to move forward with this, because I think it would mean a lot if they could solve the problem rather than continue to divide them. I don't care where you are on the issue. We just don't need another issue dividing us. Don't you agree?
I don't even think it's practical. The country is so divided that if I thought it could bear some fruit, I guess blessed are the peacemakers, Brian, but if I thought it could bear fruit, yeah. But on the other hand, I think that this really should be a no-brainer. And I think ultimately this is how it's going to be decided. If these players, if these teams, if they continue to go down the road, think of the average cost of the average family when they go to a baseball or a football game. It's in the hundreds of dollars. By the time you get some popcorn, get a beer, get a Coke for the kids, get ice cream for the kids, get a decent seat, you're spending $1,000 to go to a football game, and it's going to insult so many Americans. And I think people are going to naturally, I don't believe in boycotts, but I think naturally people are going to get turned off and turn away. And when that happens and it starts impacting the bottom line, the last I heard, Brian, you would know better than I, you're not allowed to twerk in the end zone.
Yeah, I don't think you can twerk or do what Odell Beckham did the other day, yesterday.
We don't let him do it here either.
Right.
Yeah,
I have no twerking in the green room
policy. I'm watching in the morning. I don't know. But there are look, you can't put on your uniform a statement. You can't, is that a violation of your free speech rights?
Right. Hey, well, they do have a flag on their helmet, which is important. Listen, it may cost hundreds to go to a football game or a baseball game, but free to the viewing public tonight. If you're watching this channel, you can see Sean Hannity. You're moving back to 9 o'clock, and yes, it's a big premiere. What do you got planned?
We're going to have one of the big battles going on now is the race in Alabama for Senate, and Luther Strange versus Roy Moore. And it's an interesting sort of spinoff here. I would argue that this election tomorrow is more about establishment Republicanism, and Mitch McConnell has been pouring a fortune for Luther Strange. The president has a friendship with Luther Strange, but most conservatives are going with Roy Moore. I think it's going to be a referendum on Mitch McConnell. You know, he's got an 18% approval rating in Kentucky. They're not getting a whole lot done. They couldn't repeal and replace. The Lindsey Graham Cassidy bill is now on life support. So I think that race will be defined by Mitch McConnell more than anything else.
I'm just excited that we can watch your whole show now as morning show hosts. It helps us as Americans to be able to watch Sean Hannity at 9 p.m.
Wait, are you admitting you weren't watching it before?
I haven't taped the second half.
Whoa!
What? From 10:30, from 10:30 to 11, I nod off.
Yeah, but Brian, you basically fill every spare hour of every day. I don't know. I mean, every time I turn on the network, you're there.
All right, I think this turned into an attack on me.
Sean, we're really happy for you. That's great.
And knock out Rachel Maddow. Can you make that happen?
Listen, the cable wars, you have so many people really that are just obsessed with hating the president, conspiracy theories against the president. We're going to be such a different show that I'm not worried about what the other two are doing.
All right. Sean, good luck. He's
Steve
on.
Bannon tonight, his first cable interview since leaving the White House.
You'll see 12 hours and 18 minutes from right now right here on this channel. Sir, thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank you, Sean.
Talk soon.
You bet.
All right, also a Fox News alert. Widespread devastation in Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria, and the problems could last months.
Wow. And Geraldo Rivera just reunited with his family in Puerto Rico. He is with the Puerto Rican governor and joins us live next from San Juan.